I remember how we'd all come to the Diablo forums and guess at what the developers had planned. While the CM team stood there before us, sharing what little info they could on what the team's grand dreams were. As our expectations rose higher, and as we posted there, brooding on the old, unknown patches, I thought of Diablo's wonder when we first picked up the game, that time so long ago. Diablo's come such a long way, but our expectations always seemed so high that they might never be realized. Little did we realize that our own expectations had been exceeded. They laid far behind us. Tomorrow we'll be greeted with more content, more items, more features, and so we play on, battling against the demons, running through the rifts, and looking forward to patch 2.2. Tonight, on episode 41 of the Westmarch Workshop.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Do we know the reference?
Anybody? Anyone?
Anyone? Nope, I got nothing for you.
Okay.
Nothing.
That is The Great Gatsby.
What? Wait, no. Sorry, restart the show, start the intro again, because The Great Gatsby is my favorite novel of all time. I did a freaking senior thesis on that thing in high school. How did I miss that?
Probably because it's from the movie.
Oh, well, actually, the movie wasn't that bad. Wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
I guess I saw like a little. That was from the last passage, right? I heard a little like beat boats against the current kind of thing.
Yep, that is exactly it.
Okay, all right. Just didn't put the dots together. I blame the gin and tonic.
There we go.
Starting early tonight.
Always good. Always good.
Well, everyone, welcome to episode 41, Westmarch Workshop. We're calling this one all the items ... on PTR because everyone knows everything that you've been looking for, you will instantly get on the PTR and then never see on live. So go ahead and waste all your luck right now. Joining us tonight, we have the pleasure of a third person. If you're watching live or on YouTube, you might see in the middle, point that way, the middle of us right here, a brand new guest, a new box. I don't know what happened. Who is this guy?
Is he?
I'm on your stream causing a ruckus.
How did he get in here?
Who are you, and why are you on my lawn?
So, I'm Menagese, otherwise known as Andrew. I am one of the mods over on the Diablo subreddit. So I was asked to come here and cause a ruckus.
That's right. We felt it was time to start to get some different voices on here. You know, you guys enjoy the dulcet tones of myself and the Mr. Nine Ball over there. But people have been, clamoring, saying, hey, when you're going to bring a third person in? So our grand scheme now is actually to just have a slew of guests, rotating, spinning, kind of like that BlizzCon Elemental Ring. You just never know what bonus you're going to get.
Except you do.
Yeah,
if you're paying attention.
In fact, you always do. So scratch that metaphor, and let's just move on.
Alrighty then.
Oh, man. So yes, we have Andrew here. Super happy to have you. Thanks for joining us tonight, man.
Thank you. I would like to point out that I am representing my heritage, wearing my SNU Diablo shirt, limited edition, very short run.
There it is. I'm gonna join you in showing off my sticker here on the back of my phone, SNU sticker.
Oh, like one of these.
Yeah, buddy.
Yep. There you go.
So we are fully supporting Reddit Diablo tonight. Thunderclaw and Taffer and I Bleed Orange and all those people over there will be very happy. So let's do the round robin thing. Let's go ahead and start with our guest, actually. Andrew, how was your week in gaming?
Oh, it was very good. I attempted to hop on the PTR last week. The Q boss kind of wiped me several times, and I got discouraged. Other than that, I've been playing live quite a bit. I have enrolled a monk this season. OP Monk, Flavor of the Month, all that other fun stuff. And I've been playing Final Fantasy X again on my Vita, because that game is awesome.
What? That's right. You have the Orin Twitter, avatar picture, whatever they want to call it.
He's my avatar, and Final Fantasy X is one of my favorites.
Did you see they're actually releasing the HD for PS4 as well?
Yes, I did, and even though I already have it on Vita, I very well might purchase it again for PS4.
Triple dip. Nineball. How about your gaming weeking? I'm gonna go with it.
My game and weeking.
Yep.
Well, let's see. For those of you that went and joined us on Friday, we actually did a little stream Friday night, going and showing off the PTR and the massive 2,000% legendary drop rate, which sadly is no more. Having a lot of fun there, and ended the stream with killing off all of our characters on the PTR, of course, which was a lot of fun and 100% intentional.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was that was a lot of fun. Went through, did that. Of course, did my little Warhammer thing on the weekends. Having a lot of fun there. But yeah, I wanted to try and get to Paragon 200 before the show this week, but alas, I just didn't have time hopping back and forth between the PTR and live. But getting closer, definitely getting closer.
Excellent. And you're running Witch Doctor this season mainly, that's correct?
Yep, that's correct. I'm almost able to do a Greater Rift 30 clear. Still waiting on getting those unities. I think I just need to re-enchant a little bit of my gear, get a little bit more zombie dog damage, because I'm seconds off from going through and completing 30.
Right on, man. The struggle is real. You actually are now you're the Archon of the show because you're Unity list. We'll see how long that lasts this season.
Yeah, we shall see.
And Andrew, don't remember. Did you say what you're maining this season?
Yeah, I'm playing a monk.
Oh, that's right. You're flavor of the monthing. I didn't mean to tease you. I'm sorry.
That's right.
That's okay. I did.
There it is. Awesome. All right. And for myself, I have been playing PTR a little bit. Like Nineball mentioned, we did do the episode 40.5 as we've been throwing in some gameplay sessions here and there. Testing out the barb, actually, which was a lot of fun. I didn't actually get to do any of the new sets, so it was mostly just Exhibition and Raycore. But I did test out the cheat death, and it actually does work. And then you will die after that proc, so, everything is working as intended. But it was really cool. We saw a lot of new items. We tested a lot of the new rings, especially. So if you guys are interested in kind of seeing firsthand some of that stuff, I'd highly recommend checking out that past episode. As for my old stuff on live, Crusader has still been going strong. I actually mentioned on that past episode I was going to work on some stuff over the weekend, so I got a barb up to 70 using the Gem of Ease.
Which probably took you 45 minutes.
Well, yeah. I have a funny story. So I actually was attempting to break my last record of getting the Crusader up in 2 hours. So I thought, hey, I have gear now. I have like level reduced things. I'm gonna try and level this barb on T6. And again, it's hardcore. It did not work out. So I went to,
That doesn't work.
Yeah, apparently not. I learned the hard way. So I actually had some people invited me, nicely enough, to do a Hellfire ring. They had gotten all the keys and the machines and stuff. So I was like, oh, I have a Hellfire ring. I'll equip that. Like from level 1, I have that, and I have the Gem of Ease with this crazy weapon. I should be good. T6, first bounty, Field of Miseries. It's the Field of Misery. It's the Shrine one with the waves. Yep. And I do the first wave, and I get to like level 11. I do the second wave, it gets like level 22. I do the third wave, I get to level 33, and then I got one shot by a spear.
Yep, because you've now exceeded everything.
Oh man, things got real super quick. And it wouldn't have even been that bad, but I decided to put a socket in the Hellfire ring, and I was using a Gem of Efficacious Toxin that was like level 40. So that took a while to get back. That was a bit of a bummer.
That is painful. That actually reminds me, there's a couple clanmates that I've played off and on with occasionally. Lost a monk last weekend, and then was going back through to do the same thing. Was leveling up, had the Gem of Ease, a rather decent level 70 weapon, a Hellfire ring, and such, and then got one-shotted in the 40s.
It's tough, man. I think it's almost like its own little mini game now, where you clearly can get leveled up very quickly with the new gem, but you also have to keep in mind that you can still die. It doesn't make you like permanently awesome. It just makes you permanently able to kill things, but you can get over your head pretty quickly. So that was an interesting learning curve type of thing. And yeah, I don't know, Crusader has been going well. Still looking for a couple of niche items to round everything out. Cleared a Greater Rift 43 on Sunday, so that was pretty sweet for the first time ever, like in any season since the Greater Rifts have existed. So I was pretty proud and happy.
Power creep is real.
It is real, man. That
Yeah.
ancient. Oh yeah, and I never mentioned. I did find that ancient blade of prophecy because we were going to keep a counter on it, and I never mentioned it, but I did find one, and it helps a lot. Like that is power creep, like in and of itself. So. Yeah, man. Enjoying the season so far, though. I'm actually looking to do a DH next and use her like solely for the purpose of generating higher, greater rift keys because I really can't make higher ones at this point with my Crusader.
Yeah. Hopefully that will be one of the things that they'll tackle in 2.22 or 2.3. It's just a better way of actually being able to generate your rift keys instead of just always having to go through and grind out those trials.
I saw a suggestion on the subreddit, naturally, a couple days ago, throwing it out there that allow you to do up to 5 at a time. So if you did like a 30 and you cleared that rift, that you could do, it would generate 5 level 30 keys. So you didn't have to do it over and over and over and over.
See that? I feel like that helps when you're trying to make a bunch of the same one, but it still kind of plays into that lottery effect too. Because let's say you're trying to aim at like creating a 43 or something, and that's the highest that you can make, but you don't always make that one. Right. Then when you submit your 5, you're kind of rolling the dice, saying like, okay, I'm hoping to get that 43, but you might end up with a 40, you might end up with a 39 because of the RNG of the mobs.
Yeah, that's true. That RNG, yo.
It exists. It's real. I mean, I definitely agree, Nineball, that hopefully it's something that they tackle because it hasn't been mentioned in any of the PTR patch notes or data mines that we may or may not be discussing in a bit here, that there will be any changes to the Realm of Trials. But it's definitely an area I feel like enough people have been clamoring about that they should touch pretty soon. Sooner than later would be nice, but, take what we can get. So with all of that said, should we hop into our news items? There are quite a few.
Ever so slightly. The
train keeps rolling.
Yeah, for those that joined in on episode 40, we covered pretty much all of the patch notes, so all of the official changes that was coming in the 2.2 PTR. So this week we're going to jump into the unofficial, or maybe like official, unofficial, but just undocumented changes and some other things that were data mined that haven't actually appeared in the PTR yet, or might never appear. We're not sure, but yeah, shall we?
Yes, indeed. Let's hit it.
Okay. Let's see. Where should we start? I guess there's some things like there's some new items that got added in. That they didn't actually. There's like so many things that they included in the patch notes, and so many others that didn't get added in. I think one of my favorites, I might have mentioned this on last week's episode, is the corrupted Ashbringer. For those of you who are World of Warcraft fans, that they actually have the corrupted Ashbringer in the game now, and after a certain number of kills, it will has a chance at resing a skeleton every time that you kill a mob, and when you accumulate the 5 skeletons, it explodes. It transforms into the actual Ashbringer, and then everything that you do for a limited amount of time just like obliterates things. It's doing 6,000% weapon damage. It's amazing. Everything that you hoped it to be.
I just wanted to comment that apparently the Ashbringer was so good that they ended up disabling it on the PTR because it was killing Rift Guardians in like a matter of seconds. Good.
Yeah, it's basically it seems that it's like every attack would cause it to do like the 6,000% weapon damage. So that's ridiculous amount of DPS whenever you got it to proc. And there's so many Rift Guardians that would just spawn like a whole bunch of mobs that you could reliably go through and get all 5 of the skeletons raised in short order, when doing a greater rift where it clears out all the mobs and the guardian spawns. But hopefully they'll tweak it a little bit, make it a little bit better, have it come back in. That'd be one thing that I'd like to see is the corrupted Ashbringer versus the Azure Wrath in terms of lore, where who comes out on top.
Ooh, you and your lore, you love your lore battles.
Yep.
Yeah, and some of the other items we actually had seen show up on the PTR when we were there. Like I found the NGOM, which was I think like either a one-handed dagger or one-handed sword. The Blood Brother is actually one I'm
Mm-hmm.
super interested in because it has a legendary power. It grants a % chance to block attacks, and the blocked attacks inflict 20% less damage. And after blocking an attack, your next attack inflicts 20% additional damage. And I'm looking at this and saying, "Hello, Roland's build. Nice to see you."
Yeah.
How
Plays
about
perfectly.
how about some extra damage? So pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I would like to see how that works with a Crusader. Running both that and a shield. Is it stack? Like is it a 2-roll system? Is it a 1-roll system? How does that work?
I don't know. I'm definitely very curious. I know some people have been doing some Roland's testing with it, so it might be worth digging into the YouTubes and the whatnots, the reports and the forums, and seeing what people have been getting for results. But I know that as far as I can tell, with that item, or even with like a golden flens, or just a various amount of two-handers, the Roland set is the real deal right now. It's super strong.
It's nice that one is. I know a lot of the other class sets so far have not been quite living up to the expectations. I've been particularly interested in the Demon Hunter on the PTR, because the Unhallowed set I'm really, really like, and I want to give that a go in Season 3. But on the PTR right now, it's still not quite living up to 6-Piece Marauder.
Yeah.
Neither is the reworked Natalia set.
And you were kind of saying in previous episodes that was going to be the benchmark, right? Like you would have to either dethrone M6 or at least like very heavily compete with it in order for the set to kind of reach that true power level.
Well, it's just if you're going to go through and add something new to the game that you want people to go play and use and utilize and have fun with, why add it if it's not going to be better than what's already there?
Well, see, that's an interesting proposition, but here is the maybe not the counter, but a counter argument. Because I know a lot of people are also kind of saying the same thing about Delcir Magnum's Opus, that it's an interesting concept, but the actual power level isn't there. Like it doesn't match Firebird's in terms of damage output. And some people's thoughts on this is like, well, maybe it's like, I mean, they probably will buff it just because it should at least do like comparable damage. But what if the other option is that it just presents a different style of gameplay? Maybe it's better in a party because you're going to be playing more of that support role for a wizard, if you will. Laying down the bubbles in strategic places and helping out melee characters to control the fights a little bit more. And some of the major complaints about Firebird wizards are that they're just not good in parties, or the party metagame right now just doesn't have a spot for them. So maybe this new set gives them a spot in parties, but it's not the solo set. You know what I mean?
And my counter to that is that a set shouldn't be specifically one or the other. You should be able to do each. You shouldn't have to feel gimped playing solo because you like a certain set.
I guess that, yeah, no, that's fair.
Because I tried it at BlizzCon, and it was a lot of fun. I would want to have that fun in live, but not feel forced to play in a party because I want to have fun.
Okay, so your kind of point there is that you don't necessarily, you want the set to be good like no matter where you are with it. It shouldn't cater towards a certain playstyle. You shouldn't feel forced to play multiplayer. Shouldn't feel forced on the other side to play single player because your set dictates one or the other.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree. And actually, that's a really good point to make, because I've always been the kind of person that says like, I love the multiplayer buffs, but my favorite mode of playing is by myself. So I wouldn't ever want to see anything that was like solely locked into multiplayer. Like I feel like now I have to play multiplayer in order to get it.
Which slightly derailing the topic of conversation, but now that we're going and talking about multiplayer, there was a tweet from Monstrous that I read earlier today that he was actually asking for a change to the way that legendary gems leveled up in like the solo 2 and 3 player games, because the most efficient way at getting it to the higher levels is playing in 4 player games, because that's the point that you can get the highest greater rift level, so you have the highest or the best chance at actually getting those levels up on your gems. And how do you guys feel about that? Is that something that they should keep? Should me being able to play solo and being like 7 rifts behind what you can attain in 4-player rifts, have that ability to try and get my gym up to that same point? Or do you think that it's fine the way it is? If you want those extra couple levels on your gyms, you should be playing 4-player.
My thought process with that is you have 2 options. You institute some sort of system like Monstrous is asking for, and I thought it was actually a really great tweet because I definitely see some of that disparity. So you either do that or you lock the solo player, you lock the solo leaderboards, which is to say, like, you have to play that, and this is something I think I talked about maybe last season, but you have to play that character solo in order for it to be a solo character. And that's like a really like nuanced position. It's far out there because you would literally have to avoid multiplayer games. You would not do anything with anyone or else you lose that solo tag. But at the same time, it means that that character is of itself. Like you got no help from people feeding you mats when you die, and you know you need to re-gear up and enchant things, and people are like, hey, I want to help you out, so here are a bunch of yellows or stuff. Like it's just you solo playing that character, and that means that everyone would only have access to whatever gems they could generate based on that level, and the only way to like kind of exploit it or game the system would be to level another character that could possibly get to a higher greater rift than you might on that solo character and trade the gems back and forth. But I mean, like, I don't know. I think that system is like too crazy. So I would like to see something like what Monstrous was proposing. I guess I don't know how you like make it equivalent.
I think the way you're thinking is probably too convoluted. It'd get too confusing. I would almost, and this might be what Monstrous said. I haven't seen this tweet from him, but playing solo, if you got a bonus to your percentage chance, or maybe you got an extra roll or two, you know, after you finish a rift. So instead of getting 3 rolls like you normally do, you get 4, or maybe you get a 10% bonus or something like that.
I think sorry, go ahead, Nagel.
Oh, I was about to say, yeah, it's because remember, it's like if the highest rift that your class can attain, you know, is like say 45. But there are people that are then going through and clearing, you know, greater rank 50 or 52 or 53. In 4-player mode, you'll never be able to get your gym that high because your percentage just caps out to the point where you just can't get it as high as they can. Because eventually it will hit 0, and it just is you can no longer upgrade the gym, you know, past this point. You know, but they can keep going because they're just clearing that higher level rift.
Yeah, it comes down, and that's exactly what I was going to say, so I'm glad to let you go ahead. It comes down to playing that percentage game, so I think you would have to shift. Honestly, all it would take is just shifting when you're by yourself, or even scaling it a little bit for like 2-player and 3-player, making it so the amount that it decays or decreases isn't so strict against the level that you can get up to. So like maybe for almost the same way that with the Realm of Trials, like, you know, if you have a 4-player party, then you have then whatever wave you reach, it's -6 to get the key. You could almost do the opposite and say like, okay, whatever rift you attain by yourself solo, you get +6. So it treats a 43 like a 49. So you would be able to get your gem up to 49 before you get that, or you get it up to 50 before you get that 30%, and then 15%, et cetera, et cetera.
I guess my take on it is actually I'm fine with the way that it is now. You know, that the developers have to walk like a very fine line to make multiplayer the worthwhile way to play, you know, to get people to do party games as opposed to just going and playing solo without making it like 100% mandatory. Like, you can only unlock this content by being in a group. They don't want it to be an MMO where you have to go on raids or dungeons with other people and such. Everything in the game should be attainable through solo play. And as it is now, it is. You can get all of your legendary gems, and everyone can get to Greater Rift 25 in order to unlock the secondary bonus on all of the legendary gems. It just so happens to be that the people that run 4-player rifts can get their gems, you know, 7, 10 levels higher than what you can obtain through solo play. And I don't really think that that is necessarily so much like game breaking. It obviously, for those people that are vying between like the top 5 spots on the solo leaderboards, are having to go and run 4-player rifts in order to make themselves have that little extra advantage to get their times for their solo runs better. which I can kind of understand in that aspect. But for the vast majority of players, it's just that is the reward for playing in a group as opposed to playing solo. Because if you can get everything that you could, in a group, or if you could obtain everything that normally takes a group to do playing solo, like those higher greater rifts, then what's the point of playing in the group besides, like in hardcore, doing it a little bit safer.
Right.
Because then that that takes away from the accomplishment of achieving that rift rank playing in a 4-player group, because no one really cares about how high a 4-player party got in the greater rifts. They care about where's your standing on solo. That's just my thoughts on it.
I think the one thing that I would comment on though is that let me think about how I want to state this. I guess when you have solo leaderboards, when you have leaderboards in general, I think some of the ideal thoughts about like multiplayer and single player kind of get thrown into flux, because at that point you have to walk that line of parity, or like some level of equity, of equality, because you don't want to see like advantages gained that can't necessarily, I mean, I guess the way to look at it is that everyone has the potential to party, right? And some people will find better parties than others if your clan's more active, if you have more high-level players in your clan, etc. And I guess you can kind of compare it to Paragon too. Like Paragon gives you a slight advantage if you have a higher level over someone else, but it's not the end-all be-all. And to some degree, you can kind of say the gems function the same way, because you're going to get more output, but they don't break, or they're not any like more extravagant beyond that level 25, like you said. But I guess the one concern that I do have is when you have something that tracks specifically solo play, but then you get advantages to it from entering into multiplayer, then it's kind of like, okay, like where do you draw the line?
Yeah, but I mean, the same could be said by just, playing multiplayer even without being able to achieve those higher ranks to get the higher levels on your gym. Because you could, get a farming group together of 4 Crusaders, all running, rifts and such in order to try and gear up one single person, and you're all funneling all those items into that one guy. You're getting faster Paragon level experience, and you're getting more items because of all the smart drops for 4 players as opposed to just one, in order to like up that that one person's progression on the leaderboard. And there's some people, a lot of people do that. I know you don't. You're able to maintain rank number 1 just because you're a robot and never sleep. But there's certain advantages there, and it kind of comes down to what people are more willing to take advantage of.
That's true. I mean, and you know what? That's actually it kind of is a point where I want to say, oh, you win. Like it's a smart point, because it's kind of how people always say that line between like exploits and smart use of game mechanics or whatever. I mean, that's smart use of game mechanics. Like multiplayer exists, you can play with other players, content gets easier, you can go higher. So why wouldn't you take advantage of it? In the same way you can stack your classes and get your gear much faster, why wouldn't you take advantage of it? So yeah, I mean...
And it's just one of those ones, the devs want to make multiplayer worthwhile. They want to give you, a reason to want to stay in a group. If it's more efficient to play solo, then what's the point of even having multiple, a party system?
Yeah. Fair enough. All right.
And so, sorry for derailing the conversation for like 15 minutes there. We're supposed to be talking about
sweet PTR
undocumented
items.
Changes and such.
Well, I guess that is an undocumented change because it hasn't happened.
Yeah, there you go. That's one way of looking at it for sure.
I did want to get us back on track, just looking at some of these items that are in the game but not in the patch notes. And one of my favorites from our play session on Friday was the new power they added onto the Nagel ring, which is the last item that really has magic find on it in the game. But they added a power where it spawns a fallen lunatic for you every certain amount of seconds. I think the range is 10 to 15 seconds on the ring. So if you get that low roll of 10 seconds, then once every 10 seconds you get a fallen lunatic, and it looked like it was capping out at about 4.
Yeah, it was capping at 4. That no matter how long you waited, you just would keep that number.
Right. And so we took it into a rift, and they actually stayed spawned, so it was cool. You could actually spawn them all in town and then hop into the rift. And then they just literally acted the same way they always do, just run into stuff and blow up. And they did significant damage. Like, I believe each one critted for like 50 million or so. So, I mean, and that was on my Barb, who's like decently geared, not crazily geared. So it was pretty cool just to get a little bit of extra offense from those guys. And then, of course, they're always respawning. And as a melee character, like, I didn't even notice when they would respawn because they just already be in battle and then just explode. I could see it being cool on, like, your Demon Hunter that's firing from afar. Your Lunatic spawns. It's like, I'm going in!
Go, Minions of Doom.
That was a highlight for me. Were there any other items that you guys particularly liked that you saw but weren't on the notes?
There was 2 other changes that I just wanted to mention. One is apparently people have been noting that the Hellfire Ring and Hellfire Amulet now have level 70 requirements, which I think is probably just a bug. That seems like it would go against the original intent of those items.
Yeah, especially the Hellfire Ring, because that's supposed to be kind of like a power leveling thing.
Right.
Yep. And the other one is slave bonds got nerfed. They were one of the items that would actually roll with 5 primaries, because the movement speed bonus, would kind of be added on into the additional 4, and that was a item that a lot of people would use if they didn't have another better piece like the new Gungdo gear or not slave bonds, but strong arm bracers, things that they could take advantage of there. They're going through and equipping that just so that way they could have 5 primaries and re-roll the movement speed into something else. It now is only down to the 4 primaries, just like everything else.
Right, yeah, I did see that on PTR. I was kind of perplexed because, I mean, no one is endgaming, well, not really endgaming with slave bonds. It's like it's a Reaper's Wrap, it's a strong arms, it might be the new bracers that they're introducing for, Wizard or Crusader or whoever, or monks with Gungdo gear. So it's weird that they would just kind of nab that, what made slave bonds special, because it doesn't have a legendary power. So it has literally nothing going for it now.
Yeah, now it's just something that you can gain move speed in a different slot while you're going and leveling up, and then from there it turns into Forgotten Souls.
And we're getting a note, a primetime note here, that apparently it's a bug.
Oh, there we go. So there you are. Slave bonds. Still supposed to be 5 primary affixes.
Good. I'm a slave to them bonds.
Yep.
There you go.
There you go. There's social commentary right there.
I'll be able to sleep at night now.
So, couple that I've been looking at. First being the new focus and restraint set. They kind of changed that a little bit so that you now, based upon how much resource you have, do up to 150% additional damage. So I can see that being really useful for like a Wand of Woe wizard, that as a Wand of Woe wizard that tried doing it last season but couldn't because it didn't work. I would definitely use those rings.
Something
that build.
I was talking to someone about this, and they said that the secondary procs that come off of that, so like the second and third explosion, apparently don't get buffed by the focus and restraint bonus.
Yeah, I was telling you that.
Oh, it was you.
Oh, there you go.
I was talking to some genius about this, and he was saying.
But that was in the previous rendition though, so I don't know if I would assume with this rendition they would all be affected by the explosion, but I don't know. I haven't tested it yet, so I don't know.
Something to go back in and see.
But another thing that looks really, really good right now is the new Broken Promises, which the legendary affix on that now is after 5 consecutive non-critical hits, your chance to critically hit is increased by 100% by X amount of time, and I think it rolls between 3 and 5 seconds.
This one I found interesting because that's like the old sharpshooter passive that Demon Hunters used to have. That was eventually removed.
Right, and it's like back in the day, getting good rolls on items was so hard to come by. Imagine a world with no Enchantress. Imagine a world with, pretty badly rolled gear, and all you had was an auction house to try and get it. So like getting crit everywhere was hard to do. So this sharpshooter passive was actually amazing because it basically made up for that for you. And I love this item taking on this role because it changes gear, it changes stat priorities, it changes like some of the things you might imagine for your character now, because you could take crit off everything, go 0% crit, and have crits all day long. And so that means you have free slots, you have free affix slots like on multiple pieces of gear. It's amazing. It's probably one of the best things that they could do to make a ring actually like compete with some of the most popular and powerful rings that are out there right now.
Yeah, just imagine all that frees you up if you go through and equip that and just run like 0 crit on the rest of everything else. Your gearing options are just insane at that point, because all these items just become so much more powerful.
And sorry, go ahead.
And it gives you a lot more choice for certain slots that might be restricted because of how they roll.
Yeah,
It's super true. Yeah.
And I'm being corrected by chat that it rolls 2 to 3 seconds, not 3 to 5.
Oh, okay.
oh, there you go.
5 seconds would be pretty intense.
Yeah.
But even still, though.
I've not been able to test this one on the PTR or seen. I've not looked at people discussing it. Does it have an internal cooldown?
No.
Nope.
Kriparian did a video on it earlier this week, possibly today, kind of showing it, and it's absurd. You throw up Sweeping Wind, hey, look, you crit 100% of the time, all the time.
Yep. Saw that same video. Yeah, it's like just always refreshing yourself. It's actually unreal.
And this is a plug. Don't put an internal cooldown on it, please. Don't do that.
No nerf. All right. Any other items besides items? Because there were also some undocumented like mechanics and stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as items goes, no, that's about it.
All right. Well, let's talk mechanics, because one thing we noticed right away when we were doing our rifts was rifts close instantly now.
Yes.
How do we feel about this, friends?
As long as the people you're playing with are not expecting you to close rifts,
not douchebags.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know I think this would be a great change if it were just solo only. Because at that point by yourself, I want this rift closed. But I could totally see instances going to public games. You have a limited amount of rift keys, so each one is important and precious to you. And you're going through and you say, oh, wait, I have shards on the ground. I need to spend them at Kadal. And some dude just closes it.
Yep. Too bad. Click. Yeah. For that one is definitely like a 5 seconds Turkish. Can we get maybe like 10 or 15 seconds? Maybe not keep it at 30, but having it down, it's still at least giving a little bit, just so that way you have room for error. You have some sort of warning in case, that douchebag in a public game goes and closes it while you have rifts on the blood shards on the ground, or because you accidentally just click it without thinking before you finish looting everything or upgrading, whatever it is that you want to do.
No, shots fired. Thanks, Nineball. I didn't mean it, okay? I just forgot that there were items. But yeah, I think it's a great change in terms of what it's attempting to do, but I would like at least a little buffer for multiplayer. 10 seconds is fine.
Yep. Or one of the other things that we noticed when we were going through and playing on the PTR is the lack of pylons that has been confirmed.
That has confirmed to be a bug.
Yep, that one. As I was going to go through and mention that a lot of people were going through and they were, jumping with joy, saying, "Yay! They finally removed, pylons from greater rifts. We don't have to worry about it anymore." But it's like, no, pylons are here to stay. So,
I hadn't tried any greater rifts on PTR, so I didn't get to experience that. But it's funny because it was something that we had been asking for so long, if you recall. Just saying, like, take them out, it's going to make everything better, we'll be able to, like, progressively know where we stand, etc., etc. So I'm kind of curious if maybe it's a bug, but maybe it was done on purpose just to kind of see, what the reaction would be.
Maybe?
Just a little tinfoil hat, I don't know.
Yeah. There was another one of those ones, which was, what about the elite packs and regular rifts dropping the progress globes?
Right, bug or not?
Yeah, that almost seems like a bug.
I would almost disagree with that and say that's intended, because rifts you always complete in about the same amount of time anyway, so being able to get that little extra quickness out of it, I could see that being intended.
See, I don't like it. I don't like it because it feels like a disconnect. I feel like at this point I've been so programmed to purple orbs meaning greater rift, and greater rift meaning like serious time, concentrate. Whereas like T6 is kind of like cakewalk, like, chat with the clan, watch Netflix, hang out. and then seeing those purple orbs is just so off-putting, and maybe I'm just not used to it, and it could eventually be something I dig, but right now it just, I don't know.
What if they were gold orbs?
I mean, I guess like changing the color. Sure, if you change it, then that's fine.
I don't like it, just because that means that you're putting more of the emphasis of running the rift on the guardian itself, because now you're going to be killing fewer mobs and fewer elite packs before you kill the rift guardian, so it's shifting more of the reward towards the guardian and away from the mobs, which is one of the reasons why you run regular rifts as opposed to greater rifts. Is you're killing all these things, you're getting more items, you're getting more chance at legendaries, you're getting more chance at items dropping, that even though now your say your blood shards per hour are going to increase because you're going through the rifts faster, it's now becoming closer to your overall like item gain that higher level greater rifts are. Because you're not getting, in a greater rift, you're getting fewer items, although they're a little bit higher quality because it's only coming from the Rift Guardian, which has that increased chance of dropping legendaries. But it almost seems like it's like almost an indirect nerf to regular rifts, and makes it seem more like, oh, you should just be going and doing greater rifts.
Right. Well, the thing that we can't forget either is that the rift still exists after the Rift Guardian dies. So what it could actually spur is a shift from, get to the Rift Guardian, kill it, and then close it, because I feel like it's the way. And it kind of harkens back to the debate that seems to have popped up, particularly just for Season 2. I'm not sure why it wasn't an issue in Season 1, but people are asking, is it better to clear the entire Rift, or should we just get to the Rift Guardian, get the blood shards, and then close it? And so maybe this is a way to kind of say, hey, like, your adventure to the Rift Guardian was very short, but there's still multiple levels of this Rift left. Like, keep going.
And we have breaking chat news. That might be a bug. The orbs showing up there.
Not a confirmation. Not 100%, but it might almost possibly kind of sort of maybe be a bug. So there you go.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
Yeah, it's just I think it would actually do the opposite. From what you're saying, Steven, just because it's like, once you continue to go and clear mobs after a Rift Guardian, you have the same chance at legendaries dropping, from anything that you kill past that point, but now you're not getting the candy at the end. All that time that you would spend going and killing the mobs in a cleared rift is just better spent
generating another Rift Guardian.
Generating another Rift Guardian, getting the pinata, getting the blood shards, and then going through and doing it again. Oh yeah,
I know. I'm totally in that camp.
Yeah, everyone is going to go through and have the story about, oh no, that's not true, because there's this one time, I was like an additional 30 minutes in and 5 more rifts down, and I found a unity, but it's like, yeah, but you would have found an ancient unity in a furnace if you had actually been in the next rift, if you hadn't killed that guardian, in that same time frame,
Hey,
who knows?
That's...
it's like that's the thing. It's, you always see what it is that you gain by going through and doing that method, but you'll never know the opportunities that you lost by going through and doing it. So the only thing that you can do is just go by, the rule of large numbers, and just close the rift and start a new one.
Absolutely. Can we talk about Orlash? Because
Orlash.
Because Nineball, I you're kind of famous now because you were screaming like a little girl, and I kind of made a highlight of that video and put it on my YouTube.
You didn't see? Oh no,
I did.
No.
Because that fight was amazing. So for people who haven't seen it yet, there are brand new mechanics to the Orlash fight. He was one of the guardians that we used to complain about quite a bit because he did his disappearing act, and it wasn't even like a significant part of the fight. It was just a moment where, okay, I can't attack the Rift Guardian now. So if you got him for Greater Rift Guardian, it felt so frustrating because you could totally be on time to clear that rift, and because he disappears 18 times for 10 seconds, you lose whatever that amounts to, 3 minutes or something in your rift. So now he actually sticks around, and in fact he loves you so much he makes multiple copies of himself, and he also has brand new attacks, one of which just shreds the crap out of you. It's like a crazy lightning thing. It is a beautiful fight now. I actually highly enjoyed it. And so did Nineball.
Yes, it was definitely very enjoyable. Thank you for going through and sharing that.
No problem.
I now found that video. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was definitely surprising and something that you didn't expect when he just sits there and starts, breathing the lightning breath like Diablo does, and it does a lot of damage. It is something that you have to run away from.
I hope we do see more changes to Rift Guardians too, though, because there are still a few I feel like that are just a bit annoying. Like even Razel still, they changed the rate of proccing of the electrical bolts and stuff. But even once you get him to its 25%, where he just goes ham with all the electricity, still a bit of a tough fight for melee. So I'm hoping they're making adjustments to other Rift Guardians. Yeah,
and that's one other thing that I guess we just have to look forward to. I guess that the Rat King isn't going to be added in to patch 2.2. I've not seen any mentioning of it, and also the Ruins of Shesharon, where he was going to be added, is not coming in 2.2. So, we might potentially see additional Rift Guardians being added into the game in future patches.
Yeah, man, which is awesome because, a more diverse pool is always good.
Right. Another change that helps our wrists out a little bit is you click on a crafting material and it picks up all the other ones that are around you of the same type.
Yes, that one was an awesome change, especially when you're going and you kill a Odious Collector.
And you've got 8,000 things to pick up.
Yeah.
Yes, I kind of need some of these, these white mats because I'm going and crafting a whole bunch of Ogchilds, but I really don't want to click 30 of them at a time.
Yeah, no, completely agree. It's not auto pickup, but it's close.
It's close, yes.
But it's close. Something.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's definitely an improvement, that's for sure.
Oh, we're being reminded in chat that, and this isn't in this list of changes, you go to craft a gem, and it crafts it crafts the amount that you put in one go. You don't have to wait for it to do all of them.
Yeah, instant gem crafting. I think that was in the official patch notes. I think we discussed that last time.
Oh yeah,
leave that one once. Yep.
But it bears repeating because that is awesome. I feel like that one's been a long time coming as well too. But guys, who wants to talk a little bit of Theorycraft? Because we have something here. People have been asking about it. Actually, Andrew, before you knew you were going to appear on this show, I put out a little tweet and I was like, what do people want to talk about? And you noted Cursed Realms.
Oh man, them Cursed Realms.
So what do you think it is? What could it be?
Well, I've heard and I've seen a couple different theories. I'll tell you what those are. I've heard it being called similar to PoE maps or Path of Exile maps that have affixes on them. I've also heard it being called like a mini game sort of thing, and that's the one I'm leaning toward it being. But I don't know. Reading the data mine stuff it gets you excited to wonder, to figure out what they are. But I gotta imagine it's some sort of mini game thing that we're gonna be able to do.
Yeah. Nineball, your thoughts?
Well, that's what I'm expecting as well. Is what little that we know of it is that your skills and your gear don't function. So it's just your base character. No pets, no followers, and you're supposed to, I guess they all have the subtext that you're supposed to collect vials by running through them, or you have this other thing, ethereal grasp power, which I guess is some extra ability that you're given in order to collect them all at once, or maybe everything that's on the screen. This is all just guessing. I guess we have no idea what it is or anything that it does, but it lends itself to just being an auxiliary play mode or some additional thing that you can go through and do to test yourself and your personal skill. Because there's absolutely you can't outgear it, and you can't pick a skill combination, in order to go through and get around any of the challenges that you'll face. It's just you and your mouse. And that's it.
Yeah. One of them that sounds really, really cool is this permanent, or it's called Electrify, where you have permanent conduit, lightning strikes everything around you, enemies explode in molten death.
Which is crazy.
Try surviving that.
It's crazy because you don't have control of what you kill, but at the same time you have to strategically place yourself so that you're not standing in some crazy molten explosion. I'm very curious to see what the maps will be for something like this. I'm curious to see what the rewards will be for something like this, because
Yep.
as it stands right now, these are awesome ideas, right? Like I want this in the game. But when I think about the competitive aspect of Diablo, and it's actually what's kind of hurting me right now in terms of the PTR being up at the same time a season is up, is I don't want to divide my time between things that are going to help me like learn about, or things that are going to be fun but not necessarily like impactful in terms of gaining anything in the present, versus like grinding for more Paragon or grinding for more items or upgrades or whatever, because it's going to help me move up in seasonal play, because that's competitive side of me thinking time is money in a way. So if there's no reward from this, but it's just like a fun mode, I don't know how much I would participate in it, because I still want to feel like I'm making progress on my character while I do it.
There was one string that was data mined that said it's a cursed realm dungeon store. So possibly these reagents that you're picking up are going to be used in this store in some shape or fashion.
It almost reminds me, like now that you bring that up, it almost reminds me, talk about Final Fantasy. I told you we'd loop it in somehow. Of the gold saucer, when you would go and do the fights for the battle points, and it was how you got Cloud's like Omni Slash.
Yep.
So it kind of almost seems like that, like a mini game, fight some enemies and stuff, and then you get points at the end, and you spend them on some awesome stuff, hopefully, at the store. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean that'd be a great way of something vanity wise, like a new player portrait that is going through and saying I was able to complete all of the challenges and I got gold on all the challenges or whatever, so I have this shiny portrait to go through and show how much of a badass I am. Or even something along the lines of like being able to trade them for blood shards, or special legendary gems that you can only acquire through it, something along those lines.
I like it. Actually, you know what? Because I almost want to rescind my last point, because you just brought up a great one, where I was talking about, wanting it to be about getting competitive edges and stuff too. If it gave me a badass portrait, I'm in. I don't even care, man. It does nothing for me in game, but it makes me have another thing to brag about, which is awesome. Why not, right?
Why not?
But I'm excited. There's a couple of different modes here. We did mention the Electri one. There's the Explosive Wake, Arcane Death. Just imagine that.
The Arcane Death one sounds fun. Like all the nearby enemies die around you and create dangerous arcane beams, and your movement speed progressively increases.
I think about that when I get like a speed pylon, and you have like the Fleeting Shrine, and you have buffs from other classes that give you movement speed, and it's already hard enough to control your character in some of those instances. So I just imagine all these ideas sound like really fun. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I wonder, do you think we'll see this? Because so far we haven't seen this in PTR. So these are things that have been data mined but not added to the game yet. No one has found them.
Yeah, pretty much. It just always, you have to add the disclaimer. It's just been data mined. There's been no official discussion of it whatsoever. So it might be another devil's hand. Might never see, the light of day. It might have a core concept taken and turned into another feature, like how Devil's Hand became bounty rewards. So it's one of those, always say you have a grain of salt, because we have no idea what the dev team is actually working on at this point in time. But I can only hope that we might have something added in besides just running rifts and such to vary up gameplay a little bit.
Right on. And it's kind of at least one thing to loop in with that disclaimer too is Nineball, you had mentioned previously Wyatt going on the record and saying, we don't like the amount of focus that there is on rifts, and especially greater rifts right now too. So they want other ways to reward playing the game and to give players other options. So this to me seems well suited to kind of get that done.
Another thing too is that it could give another set of leaderboards for people to compete on. Because if these are, I don't know if standardized is the right word, but if they're, so each week they're a certain layout, or a month or whatever, and there's leaderboards for each of those, you could see, exactly how far a 6-minute 30-second person got versus a 5-minute 45-second person got. So that might be something too that they might be looking at.
Dude, I like that. This could be like the next what was that stupid game with the bird and the pipes and
Flappy Bird?
Flappy Bird, man. This could be the Diablo Flappy Bird right here.
Oh gosh.
How far can you get?
Yeah.
And then maybe they'll add the whole Twitter thing too. You can like tweet out your result right from Diablo.
Yeah, that's how they're going to integrate Twitter with Diablo.
See? Solved it.
There you go.
Well, that's exciting, man.
Just imagine that if they added that into the game. You know, it's like if when you go and you're after you completed your Greater Rift, what would you like to do? Do you want to upgrade your Keystone? Do you want to upgrade your gym, or would you like to tweet about it? You know?
You can only do one. Oh my god, that would be fantastic.
Yep.
For the true narcissists in all of us.
Yep.
Oh man, make it happen. We're still in PTR, so you know they can make changes whenever they want.
Yeah, click the button, it takes a screenshot, takes you to Twitter, you know, you can go through and add a filter to it.
Instagram it.
Yeah, get some Instagram capabilities.
Instagram. There we go.
Oh my god, too good. Too good. All right.
Like hashtag.
There is supposedly a new PTR patch coming soon.
So,
who knows?
Who knows? All right. In the realm of changes that we do know are coming for sure, though, let's touch on something that kind of has stirred up the community a little bit. We learned over the last couple of days that there will be new pieces added to the legacy sets. So each of them, because you know they have slots where they take up weapons or jewelry, they're getting a 7th piece to kind of help alleviate that and not have it force you into taking a certain weapon or anything like that. So
it should be noted that this is on top of a lot of those sets got a 6th piece, because many of them were only a 5-piece set.
That's correct.
So they added in, you know, a 6th piece in order for you to complete it, and now they're all getting an additional 7th piece in order to give it a little bit of flexibility. Because, and as you were about to say, most of them are actually all of the legacy sets had used an item, or sorry, not obviously
they have items.
They have items. Imagine that. But they all used a weapon of some sort, whether it be, you know, an offhand, a mojo, or a actual weapon. They all use that slot, and those have become, you know, very, very important slots with legendaries. And now you'd be equipping a Ring of Royal Grandeur just to use a different weapon than your set weapon. And then a lot of those sets also used a ring, so you'd have to be using the set ring and a Ring of Royal Grandeur just so you can use something other than, you know, Natalia's crossbow or, you know, Ina's polearm. You know, it's just some of those things. That is nice. They're giving and freeing us those options.
Right on. Yeah, so the pieces that will be introduced, we have the Immortal King's Call is getting legs, Ina's is getting hands, Nat's is getting hands, Talrash's is getting hands, and Zunimasa is getting legs. And when I look at this list, my first beef was, hey, you just introduced some amazing pants for Wrath of the Berserker. Why is IK set getting legs? What's happening here? And as Hotstreak is mentioning in chat, IK shoulders. Let's do it. Let's switch it around. Come on. I mean, yeah, sorry, I just one more quick point. I guess like maybe it's to create some competitiveness. Maybe it's to put that Ring of Royal Grandeur conversation back in there to say, okay, well, you know, if you want the pants, then you're gonna have to take like the weapon or something. But if you don't want the pants, you got to Ring of Royal Grandeur it so you can wear the other ones or whatever. I don't know.
The IK pants actually changed to bracers.
Oh, sweet. Well, okay, my problems are solved. I'm happy now.
And that was actually one of the points that, you know, they were talking about on the forums about, you know, they're going through and asking for like IK shoulders. They specifically said that they do not want to add shoulders because there's no like build defining decisions that you have to make in the shoulder slot. Since all the sets for Reaper of Souls were designed with a shoulder in mind, that's a very generic blah item slot. There's nothing really going on in shoulders. That's why everyone is like, oh, why can't we have shoulders? I don't have to make a decision if you're going to give me a shoulder piece. And they want you to make a decision so that they're not adding in shoulders for classes. So they want to force you to actually think about what it is that you're doing.
It does make sense. I mean, and that's so you have that initial reaction, which is like the player and you just wanting all the toys, right? But then when you actually have the balanced side and the reasonable, rational side, it makes sense that there should be competition. You shouldn't just put stuff where there isn't stuff, because obviously those, like you just said, those decisions aren't decisions. They're automatic choices. So.
Yep. So yeah, that's just some things, and also I think going on what Andrew was saying is that they also made a couple other changes, like the Immortal King's pants becoming bracers, Zunamansa's pants became a belt, and Natalia's gloves became a belt because those shared the slot of the new item that they added in. Because like for the Immortal Kings, they added in the pants that buffed Wrath of the Berserker, so that way you could, it jived, or it jived well with the set piece. Natalia's had the gloves that give you a defensive cooldown whenever Reign of Vengeance is up and such, just to move it around, allow you to keep those items, and then still have choices.
Yeah, I'm actually reading. Yeah, there are some updates. To be fair, there are a flurry of updates throughout the days. Like the PTR has been crazy for updates and stuff. So I apologize if it was originally working off of old info. But just reading an update to that same thread, yeah. So the Zunimasa's Haunt is gaining 2 new pieces that occupy the glove and the leg slots, and then the complementary legendary pants that were added are being changed to a belt. And then there are similar changes happening for Nats and Immortal King. So there's a lot that's, and again, it's PTR, so it is worth it to say, like, even the stuff we're telling you right now could change by the time we do the next podcast next week. So
yeah.
And while we're talking about changes, shout out to Mr. John Yang and his Twitter account, because he's been a flurry of little nuggets of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, yeah. If you guys want to be like on the cusp of it, follow that dude. Get a Twitter account. Sign up just to follow him. Make him your one follower, and maybe the Diablo account itself too, and maybe Nevilistus while you're at it.
Yeah,
and maybe the Westmarch workshop. I don't know, the WM workshop.
Yeah, sure.
That's a cool place.
Sure, why not?
And maybe all 3 of us too.
Yeah, and then while you're there, why don't you add S.A. Stewart?
and there are other CMs too, like Tivolier. You should add him and Grimiku.
Uh-huh.
And now you got a Twitter account. Now you got a stew.
Now you have a small little following there. You can catch up on all the Diablo news.
There you go. But yeah, _ John Yang if you want, from the dev's mouth, literally, or keyboard fingertips. I don't know.
Yep, and I mean, while we're going through and discussing that, some of the undocumented changes, you've got Jade Harvester is going to be getting a change. They're going to be changing around the 2-piece and the 4-piece set bonus because of they're making a change with the way. I guess this goes into one of the things that we were going to cover next, but I might as well cover it now. They're changing a lot of the class skills because as the power creep increases, and especially with the new Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, which makes it so whenever you use your resource, a skill that uses resource, it reduces the cooldown of one of your skills by 1 second. It is going to make it very easy to have, for a lot of classes, to become permanently immune, like 100% of the time, through Spirit Walk, through Serenity, or what have you. And they nerfed that for the Demon Hunters because they didn't want people to have permanent immunity. It just breaks the game and makes it uninteresting. So they're going and changing a bunch of these other ones that almost anything that grants you some form of immunity will not start its cooldown until the buff has ended. And they're going to be compensating that by reducing the cooldown by the buff duration. So, like one of the skills in particular, which I'm going to be discussing, Spirit Walk, is normally a 15-second cooldown, and it lasts for 2 seconds. So now it will last for the 2 seconds. The cooldown will not start until the duration of the buff has ended, but now it will only be a 13-second cooldown. So you still can go through and use it every 15 seconds if you don't have a lot of cooldown reduction, but you're not going to be able to get the cooldown down to 0. Right. You're going to have some period of time where you can be hit or attacked or what have you. And with Jade Harvester, because you are playing a relatively squishy class, and you have to be in the middle of all of the enemies in order to use Soul Harvest, being able to spam the hell out of Spirit Walk was one of the things that made that set kind of viable. And one of the things that they plan on changing is also, changing around the 2- and 4-piece set bonus, and then adding a new item to buff the set to make up for the immunity changes of Spirit Walk. So they're realizing that too much of your survivability is tied to this one single skill, and nerfing it is going to have a very, very detrimental effect on how that particular play style goes through in the game, and they're going to kind of compensate for it. So we'll have to see how that turns out.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you consider just the impact that one item can have, because a lot of this is being driven by the Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac and its legendary power. And it's kind of, I feel like I have to kind of eat some crow, because last week we were kind of saying, oh, that ring doesn't sound like it'll do anything. That's not all that good, but it's actually super powerful. It reduces cooldowns very quickly. So this is kind of what spurred a lot of these permanent immunities. And obviously we're seeing it back to the early days, like Nineball, you were telling me, a little reminder of the days of Athene, going through and power cycling. What mantra was it?
It wasn't a mantra.
It was
mantra, Serenity.
Serenity, yeah.
Yeah. The reason why that made me think is because we learned about these changes. Typhalair was chiming in on a topic that was, going in theory crafting and showing some evidence that like a 4-player group of monks that were using the Serenity rune that shared like the immunity could go through and rotate in order to keep up 100% immunity 100% of the time. And it's like that's when they went through and commented that they need to change that. That can't be the case anymore. We're going to change that. Or I'm sorry, it wasn't that one. That is what it was originally with the Athene example, but it was just that you could get it to where it lasted for 4 seconds, and then with so much cooldown reduction, and that being your only cooldown skill, if you're going through and using it with the Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, that you would be dropping that cooldown from 20 seconds down to 4 seconds.
Just like power cycling
instantly, and just be keeping a Serenity up with Ascension 100% of the time, and that just reminded me of what it was being used originally, is that you had a group of 4 monks that used the old rune that shared the immunity across your entire team, and so that way you would be spamming it, and so you'd have the immunity the entire time, because at that point I think it was like 3 seconds, but it only had like a 12-second cooldown, and so they would just rotate. Each one would pop it, and so the entire group would be immune the entire time.
Right, and I was just bringing that up because we've seen a history of these kind of like people finagling the game mechanics to get these permanent invulnerable states, and the last popular bastion of it was Demon Hunters with the Meticulous Bolts and getting the permanent smoke screen. And so, we've seen that now get eradicated when they made the changes that they did to, both Smokescreen and then also the generation of discipline for Demon Hunters. And so this just seems like another step in that direction to protect against, the taking away a major part of the game, which is mitigating damage. It's not just about damage output in this thing, but it's also about surviving. And that's kind of always been the formula of, how much damage do I pump up on my character versus how much survivability. And so, you couldn't have something like this exist and try and have a healthy game. And some of the skills here that are being affected are Spirit Walk, Serenity, Smoke Screen, and Laws of Hope stop time for Crusaders. So I think it's a good change for the game. It's healthy.
Yep, definitely.
All right. Were there any other news items that we wanted to cover before we moved on to the feedback section? We ran kind of long there on news.
That's the only other thing is just like the one of the other kind of just undocumented changes that was data mined is just those. I think we mentioned it briefly last episode, but we kind of talked about it more in the after show, and that's kind of blending together now for me. Was the new follower quests? They're actually expanding upon the story. From what it looks like, all the little follower quests ended on cliffhangers at the end of Reaper of Souls. Well, I guess Arenas didn't, but Cormac and Lindens did, and so it's progressing, and they're taking it, like one more step. Don't know if this is going to be, again, whether it's going to be added in patch 2.2, a future patch, or what have you. But it's going to be very interesting. I've really only seen that is being added in. I've not read any of the dialogue. I've been fighting that temptation because I want to wait and see it in its final form and fully fleshed out, and what have you.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of trying to pull away.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
Yeah. It's just it's that damn flame. Like, I'm attracted to it.
Like a moth.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. There are things to look forward to, certainly. And even if we don't see, this is kind of the interesting thing, because we're seeing these strings, and if we don't see it in PTR, does it mean expansion? What? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's cool. It's definitely cool to see just more of that lore stuff, more of the story stuff getting expanded upon, because it could mean just a really strong commitment to patching and adding in things like that people just like would never even fathom of. Hey, add more quests, more storyline. But they could do it. They really could. So,
Yeah.
All right. I guess from there we can move to the feedback section. Unless you guys have any like PTR stories, is there anything in particular from your play in PTR that maybe you want to highlight or talk about? My personal thing is just I think Crusaders Roland set, like, look out for that. Hopefully it doesn't get super nerfed, but they're like crits for billions upon billions of damage, and it requires a very specific gear set. But I think that it should be that way because you can assemble all that crap super easily on the PTR because of the crazy drop rate that was there and is there no longer. But I think it's nice to have a viable set that works, that's not a cons, and hopefully it has the defense to back it up.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing what more they have in store for the Unhallowed set, as well, especially Natalia's. Natalia's had that one looked really interesting, going through and like buffing Reign of Vengeance for the permanent uptime, but its damage is still just kind of lacking. So I'm hoping to see some more changes to get it buffed up to Marauders levels.
My experience with the PTR was largely spent fighting the Q boss and dying repeatedly. But I wanted something else to know is that apparently the Whirlwind set's getting changed to where it doesn't require rend on the target for the damage boost that we're going to see in the next PTR patch. So I'm excited to try that out when it comes out.
Yeah. Once that was actually pointed out, that does make a lot of sense. So this is the Whirlwind set. So the 2-piece bonus buffs rend.
Mm-hmm.
The 4-piece bonus buffs rend.
Right.
And then the 6-piece bonus buffs whirlwind, but only if you're using rend. So, yeah, that one did seem a little bit interesting, but it's the whirlwind set, not the rend set.
Yeah.
Right.
It's whirlwind.
Don't get it confused or twisted.
Don't get it confused. Yeah. That's the only other highlight that I have from a PTR play is apparently the one that I didn't know is going to be recorded and put on YouTube of our little experience of Orlash there.
A day that will live in infamy, a fight that will live in infamy.
Yes, yeah. At least I didn't die.
That's true.
That is true. That could have made that even more beautiful.
And now Matthew Berger will be seeing it, so
Oh, hooray! Gets to see me screaming like a little girl.
Oh, boy. All right.
Thank you again for that.
You're welcome, as we like to say here on the Westmarch Workshop.
Yeah. Sorry, not sorry.
Speaking of thank yous and your welcomes, I'm officially moving us into the feedback section. We're going to try and snip our way through here because we did have quite a few since we didn't get to them last time. So this very first one is actually from our good friend Jeff, who writes in quite a bit. And it has an image accompanying it that I'm going to throw up here on the screen so that by the time I finish talking about it, you guys will hopefully be able to see it. He says that, first he says, sup fellas, of course. I started Season 2 Monk to play Gungdo Gear Exploding Palm / Wave of Light build. Who didn't? And he had these 2 weapons drop, which on the screen you'll see he has equipped an Ancient Maximus, 4,300 DPS, 19% to fire skills. We rerolled some enhanced damage, 9% on there, 1,382 dex, and then Ramalani's for a socket. And then he found a regular old Incense Torch, 3,225 DPS, Nothing re-rolled, or actually, sorry, he did re-roll a socket onto there, so it's just got 1,113 dex, 1,100-ish vit, increased wave of light damage 28%, the legendary power of 45% reduced spirit cost on wave of light. And so he wants to know which one is best for a Bells build. He doesn't have enough emerald gems to make a similar comparison without the gems, or sorry, to make a similar comparison with both. But without the gems, the difference in listed DPS is 28%. He says he runs out of spirit with the Ancient Maximus. He's got Crutus Boots and second in his piece. So with a Ring of Royal Grandeur, he's getting 6 more spirit per second and 100 more spirit per ear ally. But the torch does not have spirit problems and it doesn't hit as hard. So what to do? Monks, go.
I don't
Andrew,
know.
You wanna take this one?
That's such a tough call, especially since the torch isn't ancient. If the torch was ancient, absolutely the torch is the right answer.
Right.
But given the fact that the torch is a 1100 DPS loss, I would almost say the Maximus. You're better off with the Maximus, I would almost say.
Yeah.
The one thing that I'm going to go through and say is, the damage difference that he says is 28%. That doesn't take into account the bonus fire damage that the Maximus is going to go and give you.
Well, that's true too.
But it also doesn't take into account that you're going to be dropping almost twice the number of bells with the torch. You'll be able to keep it going, that much longer and keeping your sustained DPS that much higher. I would almost say that it's just one of those ones that it's really close. I might actually give a little bit more to the torch, but this one is a bit easier to figure out, even without having to go through and look directly at your character sheet. And that's one just test it out. Go through, time yourself, run 10 rifts, using each one and seeing which one you overall clear faster with. I want to say that there's going to be just that little bit more going towards the torch, just because you're going to be able to drop more bells and you're going to keep the sustain going just that much longer than you will with the sheer damage coming from the Maximus.
Yeah, and I think also one thing to note is you could always reroll that socket and put 10% damage and then get a Ronald McDonald gift on there. Yeah,
that is true. That will help, compensate it. If you get a gift to throw onto the torch, that will up its DPS and make that damage difference between them a little bit less.
Yeah. Indeed. So Jeff, you got some options, but I like the test idea. Just take them both out for a spin drive.
I like how Thunderclaw in chat is going, and yeah, just get a gift.
because they're so easy to find.
I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, and you're welcome. Just do it, all right? Ronald McDonald.
Yeah, the gift is just sitting there waiting for you with your Unity and your follower immunity trinket.
All right, on to the next one. Pick one. Anyone.
I'm going to go through and take this one. Not so much feedback, but we had a clanmate that unfortunately had to say goodbye for a little while because he was getting deployed over in the Middle East. And we actually, he sent us his first email after his deployment. And he just wanted to go through and say that he's been looking all around the desert, but he can't seem to find Chaldeum. And so he's just going through and just saying that he's been doing pretty good so far. He's holding up there, and he's actually sad looking over all the patch notes on Diablo fans because he doesn't get to test any of it out. But yeah, so Psycho, thanks for going through and writing into us over here at the workshop. We hope to hear more of your adventures, over in Act 2.
Indeed. Yeah, it was really cool to see that come through, and he did tell us that he was going to be out doing some military work for him, or for us, for the country. And so it was nice to be able to hear from him, to see that he still got the email access. It's all, and I almost feel bad because it's like you have all the pieces, but you don't get to play. It's like you can see the Christmas tree and all the gifts underneath, but you don't get to open it. So Hopefully soon.
Yep.
All right, let's see what we got here. A lot of this stuff is just people talking about their drops and things like that. We do have one here from Power Axes, though. And he says, if this has not already come up for discussion, I think the word grind will no longer be sufficient to describe the search for the last set item. And he's talking about being on the PTR and stating that with the legendary drop rate that they had on there, he got a lot at T1, but the only thing that was missing was a set item that he wanted, so he was hoping that they could use Kadala. Actually, this is something, so I'm reading this over and trying to summarize it. Basically, this is something that I was actually talking to Flux about, believe it or not, because he was complaining that because the drop rate was so crazy, he couldn't get enough arcane dust, enough blue items to get his rerolls and things like that. And something I was actually thinking about was like, why not have like a mat vendor? So when they put this drop rate in, what it means to me is that they want us to test stuff like ASAP. They want us to get our sets as fast as possible. And I guess by having it drop, it still kind of creates that you still have to play the game to get the stuff. But at that point, like if you're increasing the drop rates that much, why not just put a vendor in there that says buy all the stuff? Why not just put a vendor in there that says you need 5,000 arcane dust, buy it? What's the difference, you know?
Yeah.
Because the game is a broken version of itself at 2,000% legendary drop rate.
Mm-hmm.
I would almost wish... Go ahead, Nightball.
I was just gonna go through and do the tried and true method of comparing it to World of Warcraft, and that they have on occasion with World of Warcraft just thrown in like sets. They put a vendor here, and go to this person, talk to them, and he'll give you, some of the new sets that we're going through and working on for you to test out. I don't think that they've done that in a while, but it is something that they used to do on occasion.
And that's what I was going to say, is I wish that they would just put a vendor in the game that it costs you X amount of gold or X, whatever. But instead of making us jump through hoops to get the gear, just let us get the gear and then we can test it after that.
Right. Yeah, because it really does feel like when you go as far as saying here's 20 times the drops for legendary specifically, I can't imagine any other purpose than it being get all the stuff, test it. So sell all the items and test it. And reading a little bit further into Power Axe's email here, it looks like he actually wants something, and this is dangerous territory because I feel like people play the PTR, they get all excited, and then they want stuff to come to live. But here's his suggestion. He says he'd like to see a change to Kadala where there was a tab to gamble for just set items. For this tab, it would be smart for your class, so like you could gamble on certain slots. So you still do your bracers or your helm or whatever, and you could still get generic ones like Blackthorns, but there would be a chance to get, your Firebirds or your Delseers or whatever.
Yeah, I like that. I still have the memory of last season on my Demon Hunter. While gambling, I got both Sunwuko and Jade shoulders before I got my Marauder shoulders. It still ended up not being the very last set piece that I got, but that stuck with me, as I got 2 other class sets before I got my Demon Hunter.
That's kind of crazy. I mean, hey, there is that % chance for it to not be a smart drop, so. I don't know. That's all I got on that one.
If they were to potentially entertain that idea, they would have to make it cost prohibitive on the blood shards. Like it would have to cost you 400 or 500 blood shards to roll. That way.
I agree with that.
Otherwise, if you make it cost even 100, okay, I right click 5 times. Oh hey, I got the item I needed, and
then you're done.
Yeah, then you're done.
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, the thing is, like, you still have to balance it, too, because it would still drop probably, like, blues and yellows and stuff. So if you spent 500 shards and you got a blue shoulder, you'd still be pretty upset. I mean, you'd actually be very upset. But if it were only... I don't know, because if it does have... You would need to add more generic sets, I feel like, to make the feeling kind of offset itself. So like if it were to cost 400 to 500, at least you were still getting a set piece. So like maybe there was less of a chance. What I'm basically arguing for is like diluting the pool so that the worst of the worst isn't always a possibility. So what I mean by that is like you're not looking at Marauders or a blue shoulder. You know, you're looking at Marauders or
Troll Thorns
Troll Thorns or
Invoker or whatever.
Invoker, or Unhallowed, or just I feel like once we get to more options, that you could entertain something like that, because it truly will get tough to gamble for things as more items get added to the pool.
Yeah,
but I'm not even all that like upset about it, like, because I feel like they're adding more ways for us to get the materials to gamble for that stuff too, with Blood Thieves, with higher rates of blood shards per Greater Rift, etc. So as long as all those things stay balanced, I don't see a need for a drastic change.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like it's really good now. It definitely is something that will need to come up, and I think they've mentioned this a couple times already, even as far back as BlizzCon, talking about as they add new items to the game that even though they made like some of the rarest items more common, that they're adding in more items so that in effect reduces, or increases their rarity, reduces the chance that you'll finding it, just because now there's, the pieces of the pie are all getting smaller because more are being added to it.
Mm-hmm.
How many more additional sets are going to be added in, or new legendaries for all the different slots before you're kind of having to readjust. You've got, first you have non-torment and torment sets. Are they gonna have like a Greater Rift set or something else? In order to just break it down, even more so that you might be able to focus farm a little bit better, because you've got 15 different set shoulders that you have to wade through in order to find before you find the one that you want.
Kind of like the idea of Greater Rift sets that only drop in Greater Rifts, because then it gives you a reason to grind Greater Rifts besides just leaderboards.
Yeah.
It almost brings up the argument too that if we're looking at season 5, season 6, however long down the road that is, do they start sunsetting items so that you just can't get them anymore to help alleviate some of that pie that's getting split up into so many small pieces?
Like true legacy items.
Yeah.
Or not even like a true legacy items, it could be something along the lines, at what point is it that you just make Blackthorns crafted?
Oh, that's true. Actually, that'd be pretty cool too.
You make it a pattern. Yeah.
You just take something, like I think Invokers is like that'd be a great
please
one. Because exactly, taking that has been my troll set for this patch. This is beyond Blackthorn levels of annoying. When I see all these set items drop, go through, pick it up, and you look at it, and it's just that dull grayish tan staring back at you, and it's just, I don't even want to identify it. I just want to delete it. I don't even want the Forgotten Soul. I just want to get rid of it. That would be an interesting change that they could make in order to reduce the item pool, and while still keeping the items there, or even just like some other ones that they still haven't gotten around to making. All the old legendary items have special affixes or abilities. That's something that you could just make. Some of them, honestly, could just be a crafted item, because their set bonus or their ability isn't that great.
Right.
You just make it a slightly rarer pattern to find, to give it a little bit of an upgrade over what the original crafted item was.
Agreed.
All right. Well, I guess moving on, taking another one. This one comes from Ballin. Yep. Sup, fellas. Here comes a question from the far north in Norway. He wanted to know what we thought about the fact that Rift Guardians are able to spawn super far away from where your character is, and finds it very irritating, especially in Greater Rifts, where you're going to be on a short amount of time. You're already kind of like fighting against the clock. Once that Rift Guardian spawns, having to spend a minute or two running back to it, can all but completely kill your run. This one, they're actually changing a little bit, because they're now making it so that way the Rift Guardian will always show on your map when it spawns, so you don't have to go looking around. He might just be around the corner and you go off in this one direction, only to come back and find him that he was just 15 feet away from you, but the indicator wasn't popping up. But I think that this one is especially as annoying is a lot of the ones that like the maps that loop back on themselves. So that way you have the entrance and then the exit are here, but then the whole rift, does like one of those giant U's, and so you spawn it when you're at one side or the other, and it's on the other side, and so it takes you 5 minutes to run back to it. There's definitely some things that they could do in order to, I guess, just a better pathing algorithm to try and cap the distance that the Rift Guardian spawns away from you in terms of actual pathing distance instead of just map distance.
Yeah, I think I want to say that there was a blue post or something back in season 1, like early season 1, because this was a complaint for quite some time that the Rift Guardians were spawning in strange places, or they weren't on the map. They weren't pinging on the map, so you didn't know if you needed to go forward or backwards to find them, etc. Because when you play enough Rifts, you can actually kind of predict where they're going to spawn, because they don't tend to spawn in narrow areas. They usually spawn in like rather open rooms, and then to some degree, they actually spawn in certain places. Like if you're in, I don't know, like a Halls of Agony map, and you're fighting, and you get the last like orb or the last kill or whatever, and you're on like a narrow pathway. You can kind of predict that it'll spawn behind you, but down in like that one area where you go down the stairs, etc. So like you can kind of understand where it'll happen, but like you shouldn't have to pay that close attention to figure it out. You should just be able to look on the map and say, hey, my target is here. It's like, because think of like from a lore perspective, this is a thing happening. This badass monster spawns in your game, and it now is telling you have to go kill this thing. How would there not be like sirens and blinkers and all this shit, like saying like, hey, this bad evil dude just spawned. Go help over there. You are a Nephilim. Like, save us all. Mm-hmm. It's like, I have no idea where I need to be right now.
Yeah.
Silly.
If they just make it to where it pings on the map as soon as it spawns, good enough.
Fixed. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. What was it? Evil now walks the earth.
Yep. And that's about it. Who knows where?
It's the old Uber Diablo. When you finally got them to spawn on the server, it would just come up with a little thing, evil now walks the earth. But
then you actually have to go find them, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it could be a throwback to that, but damn it, times change, okay? Mm-hmm. I am on a time limit here. I got places to be.
Got places to be, other Rift Guardians to kill.
That's right.
All right.
I've got one.
Yep.
This is from Hawguy/Jimicus, and he actually runs his own podcast over on the other side of the net. It's called wow, am I going to forget this? BlizzCon Countdown. And so right around the time there, which, by the way, we should say, Andrew and I were talking, and we were just noting that it's about a month-ish from right now when we started to get some of that BlizzCon ticket hype, started to get details. So, start to look out. We're right around that timeline of things might start getting announced.
And when we start getting those dates.
Mm-hmm. And also this weekend, Blizzard will be here in Boston at PAX East. No Diablo presence, unfortunately, but they will be Heroes and Hearthstone and Overwatch. So if you're super into those things, there might be news items for you after this weekend is over.
But Josh Mascara is at GDC.
It's a busy week
this week.
Yeah, he was giving a panel on
I believe so.
Yeah.
I don't know what on, but I know he was there.
It was another one of the. It was kind of another post-mortem on like the Reaper of Souls transition.
Okay, so similar to the BlizzCon second panel. Cool.
Yep.
All right. But yeah, so that little segue there, Hawguy does run the BlizzCon Countdown, so it's a really cool podcast. You can check it out. We had some features on there. I don't know, hey, check it out. It's cool stuff. But he says, "Sup, fellas? I want to compliment the consistent helpfulness of the BlizzPro clan in supporting my D3 hardcore progress. Every one of my noob questions gets promptly answered, usually by more than one member, and surprisingly, they even agree with each other most of the time." Hooray! This is funny because I was having a convo with Nagel this morning or earlier tonight too about some clan craziness, and I'm sure like anyone who is listening who's in a clan can relate to just those moments where someone throws an item out there and they're like, hey, what do I re-roll on this, and everyone has a different opinion and it gets to just crazy arguments. Sometimes, hey guys, just peace and love. Everyone can be right.
It's funny, it's like, just what stat should I re-roll? And there's blood, and people are dying, people are leaving. It's like civil war is breaking out.
Seriously, take your sides. Like, people are factions. It's crazy. There's like clans within clans now. I don't even know.
And the correct answer all along was just to re-roll armor. So there you go.
I love it. But yeah, Jim just wants to thank us for the clan and the show, and hopes to see us at BlizzCon 2015. And he says BlizzCon Countdown will write again through an outlet near you. And a little note here for you, Nineball. In honor of Brother Nineball, my Crusader is named Hog's Child.
I like it. I definitely like it.
That's fantastic.
Yep, and yeah, hope to actually make BlizzCon this year.
I hope you both do.
Right?
Yeah, we'll see what RNG has in store for us this year.
Roll the dice.
Yeah. Let's see. Others in here?
Let's go ahead.
I almost forgot. The one that I covered also submitted. I don't know if you wanted to show this one for one of the items of the week.
It is. It is an item of the week.
Okay, so I'll just move on then. This one was actually one that was emailed in to me by Tapioca from New Zealand. I hope I'm pronouncing that one correctly, but I'm probably not, as is par for the course. And this kind of ties in is similar to one of the ideas that you were talking about earlier, Andrew, about like just the a change to the trial of being able to say, like, doing it in, like, the multiples of 5, turning in like this many keys in order to get it to times that level. So if I like turn in 3 keys, I can access level 15, yada 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 and so forth. And just it's one of those ways that he's just trying to think of ways to make the trial system easier, so you can better target in and home in that what rift that you get yourself into. It's like I don't want to go through and have to cap out at level 40 keys and then switch over to my demon hunter just so that way I can get myself level 45 keys, so on and so forth. Seems to be this things are always going to be evolving. Just kind of as I was talking about in the opening, we always have these expectations, and we kind of never realize that our expectations are met, because as our expectations are met and we move on, we find something else. There's something new that we want, and is a quality of life issue as they go and change. So it'll be.
Yeah, Travis made the good analogy, Travis Day, on the Tavern Talk last month, that comparing the Great Rift system to getting on an amusement ride. Like, if you reach the bar that says you must be this tall to ride the ride, and you leave and you come back, all of a sudden you're not below that height. You're always, you're that height. So maybe that will be something that we might be able to see in the future.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Just saying, I've completed this rift, so I can start at this level.
Yeah, I didn't realize my mic was muted. I was like, why is he talking over me? I like the idea.
Because we don't value your opinion.
Why. Okay, I'll just leave then. It's the Andrew and Nineball show now. But I just wanted to say I like the idea, because RNG is tantamount to Diablo. Like, they go hand in hand. And so I like the idea that there is some randomness, but I also like ways to kind of move around it and guarantee a couple of things. And we see that with Kadala, right? Like, you can gamble. It's not guaranteed, but it just helps you target some of those slots that are hard to drop for you for whatever reason. RNG is just not on your side. What I would like to see would be having a gambling system maybe come into the realm of trials. If they don't want to flat out say you get this key every time, right? Maybe you can give 10 keys. Maybe you give 20 keys. Maybe you give 50 keys. And depending on how many you give, you get a chance to get a key that is like closer to what you're trying to aim for. So I don't know how you would do it. Like, maybe the game knows your highest last clear was a 35 and you really want that 36, but your character has a hell of a time making a 36 key. So you give, I don't know, you put 50 in and it boosts like your chance to get that key, even if you don't get within the wave that would earn it, right? So like, and this is not a fleshed out idea, but I would wish that we could do something more with the amount of the realm of trial keys that we get, because they're guaranteed on T6. So when you get to that point where you're that geared up, you have so many, and the last thing you want to do is run them, because everyone hates the realm of trials. So if we could do something more with them that's compelling, that's interesting, I think that's kind of like what everyone is like constantly submitting ideas for.
What if you even made it as simple as you want a 36, you put in 36 trial keys, there's your 36.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't mind that either. I mean, obviously, like it gets crazy when you're like trying to clear 50 and it's, you know, there goes your 100 stack for 250 keys. But if you're that desperate at that point, like I would.
Yeah, or even just something that you go through and you run the realm of trials. It goes and gives you your key, and then another little interface pops up and says that you can add more trial keys to up it.
Ooh, yeah.
You know, it's like you get your, you know, I can get up to, say, you know, I can spawn a 43 key, but I really want a 45, and I can pay two more trial keys in order to make it a 45.
Almost turn it into a currency.
Yeah, pretty much. Or even something that, you know, you can go up to like 5, and then after 5 it's like 2 per, you know, just to make the cost ever increasing, so you can't just, you know, go in, I'll complete a level 1 trial and then throw 50 keys at it so I can get in at greater rift 50, you know, but that might end up costing you like 200. You know, so it makes it so you actually do still have to participate in the realm of trials, which I know is what people want to skip.
Right.
But it's something that the developers, you know, for the time being, feel they want players to do, you know, in order to give them idea of you're ready for this rift or what have you. Though this isn't really something that is affecting the more casual players. You know, it's for the people that already know what their limits are. You know, just something to allow you to go through and do that, and, you know, maybe still take a little bit of you have to be involved with the trial, but then still get out of it what you want by getting that higher key that you might not be able to attain.
I dig it, man. There are a lot of good ideas out there, so hopefully they pick one. It's just too bad, like, I mean, I guess when we do see like a 2.3 or whatever, we'll see a PTR for it and we'll see some testing, but I would love, you know, just to see some iterations thrown out there, even if they didn't make it into the next patch, just to test different ideas for it. But yeah, does that cover it for us? A lot of items in here are actually just items of the week, and I did want to throw out the caveat that we're gonna kind of basically go through the backlog. You guys can keep submitting them. We're going to still limit them to like about 5 or so per show, but we'll just keep grinding through until we get caught up to the present.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we are going through and taking that. I think that was about the biggest ones that I wanted to cover as far as feedback goes for this week. So I guess let's get into the items. All
right. And again, you guys, if you want to submit to these sections in particular, feel free to send emails to westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com. We are also taking tweets, of course, so if you like that medium, go ahead and send us a tweet on the WM Workshop. We love to tweet, and we tweet back. And yeah, I mean, however you want to reach us, we're waiting to hear from you. So without further ado, let's hop into the items of the week. This very first one is actually from Twitter, believe it or not. It's from @ScarySpaceBeast. So scary. He submits his ancient Sun Wuko's Paws. And of course, since monks are all the rage right now, a lot of these items are going to be very monk-centric. But this one I wanted to highlight just because it's pretty bananas. It rolled with, oh man, I can't even read numbers anymore, but I think that's 980 decks, 960 or 900. Pick your flavor.
That's 980.
980? Okay, great. Good. So that's a lot of decks. 938 Vit, re-rolled for a 50% critical hit damage, which is not easy to do, by the way. I've had like 49% on some of my gloves for the longest time, and I just don't even care to re-roll anymore. But anyways, also rolled with a 10% crit hit chance increase. And then for your secondaries, you got some fire resistance there, 177, and then, you know, some bonus to gold from mobs and stuff. So not too shabby. So thank you, Scary Space Beast, for submitting that. Moving on to the next one, we actually have Born's Furious Wrath, an ancient version, and that's coming from Paige. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to know real quick about the Sun Wuko's gloves there. I just wanted to, chime in from Andrew, since you've been playing a monk this season.
Mhm.
How big of a loss is it not having attack speed on those gloves for trifecta for a monk? Does that really matter? Is it
Not really, because you almost, I guess it depends on, if you're doing the usual EP build, attack speed doesn't matter a whole lot, because you're putting down bells faster, but then you run out of resource faster. So I don't use really all that much attack speed on my monk. I maybe have 10% or so, but I would much rather take crit damage and crit chance with the vitality rather than the attack speed.
Yeah, because that's what I wanted to know. Is like a lot of people go through and look at that. It's like, oh well, it's not trifecta. Why are you going through and showing that? But for monks, this is actually about as good as you can get, because you don't care about attack speed. The vitality means more.
You could conceivably want cooldown reduction instead of that vitality too.
Okay.
I can see cooldown reduction being wanted.
Mm-hmm. Because that allows you to keep your spirit generation going higher with Epiphany and such.
Yes.
Indeed. CDR, man, such a strong affix. One of the best things they added in Reaper Souls, in my opinion. All right.
You would say that, Mr. 100% uptime on the con.
Shh.
Just, okay.
No one needs to know, except everyone knows.
Except everyone knows.
Next up, we have a Born's Furious Wrath of the Ancient variety, submitted by Paige. Thank you, Paige. This is 3060 DPS with an innate 10% damage roll on there, which is always nice to get, and a reduced cooldown of all skills by 9%, so there's that lovely CDR fix chiming in. And believe it or not, a reroll for 1000 vitality. And so I'm looking at this and I'm like, why? Like, what is this item? This is crazy. What is this for? But this actually harkens back to a conversation that we had on the last podcast, talking about how monks can leverage the new experience formula, if that's what we want to call it, for greater rifts. And being able to take Born set, being able to take Kane set, being able to take a Hellfire ring, and just stack up those experience bonuses. And then profit, literally, just get tons of Paragon levels. So this is actually a monk that's clearly playing in the support role, just taking all the experience bonus that he can get and then going through those mid-level, like 35 greater rifts, and just soaking up the experience.
Yeah. That's not a bad way to go through and do it.
Nope. So if you're trying to boost up your Paragon, if you want to hit kind of a record high for yourself throughout this season, this is one of the first. Roll a monk and then get your crafting on, because that's an easy way to do it.
Yep, and obviously the only thing would be to add is make sure that you're doing it in a group of people that is okay with it, since you are being, even though you're kind of fulfilling the support role, you're still kind of being, carried a little bit in that respect, depending upon what greater rift level that you're running at. So just don't do it to the point of being a hindrance to your group, obviously.
Don't leech and drive, people.
Yeah, don't leech and drive.
Speaking of ballin', this is his furnace, an ancient one, and I never neglect the opportunity to highlight an ancient furnace because they're just awesome.
Steven has instituted a new rule for the show that pretty much if you submit an ancient furnace, it's going to be shown.
It will.
Period. That's it. End of story.
Like there is no denying them. In fact, I don't even add them. They add themselves. I don't know how. They've gained
they have a mind of their own.
They've gained consciousness. This furnace here is 4,218.5 DPS. Gosh, without like attack speed or any of that, it's just like straight up damage. 10% damage rerolled on here. 1,344 strength. Reduced cooldown of all skills by 9%. And Ronald McDonald's Happy Meal on there to get the socket, and a secondary of 3.6% chance to freeze, and increased damage against elites, of course, by 47%. Like this is almost perfect.
I'm going to go with Mikey and Chad on this one. Only 47% elite damage. Salvage.
Why are we wasting our time on this? Beat it. I want someone to beat it. Just beat it. Send in something even crazier than this. This is legit, man, because the like secondaries, like it gets to the point where perfection is based on secondaries, and that's a sick secondary. Because if you're looking at something like the Stampede build, which isn't quite in favor anymore, but even just having that chance to freeze, keeping things locked down is huge in that build. And if you're looking at a Barb, and this is also great too, because they already freeze crap, so you have another chance to freeze. This is crazy, so crazy. I love it, and I'm jealous. Oh, what's this? We have an Ancient Sun Wuko Shines. It's an amulet.
Oh, I wonder what that is.
Where'd that come from? Who submitted this one?
I don't.
That's funny. Gosh, I wonder.
Does it look familiar?
That looks really, really familiar.
Interesting.
That's the name that I found this last week.
How crazy! We actually were gonna highlight this just because it was a crazy item. But then we also decided, I mean, we didn't like plan it this way, but Andrew just happened to be available, so we had him on the show, and I was like, your item's going to be shown when you're here. So you have to tell us a story, man. How'd you find it? What was the reaction? Who's salty? How many people died?
So I was just playing around. I was trying to do the Aviar's Conquest, where you got to pick up 50 million gold outside of a vault. So I was just playing around in Act 5, because I read around that was the best place to try to do this. And I was just killing stuff, and hey, a green amulet dropped on the ground, so I picked it up, and of course I could tell what it was before I ID'd it. So I typed out in all caps in clan chat, shine. So I ID'd it, and then the salt poured forth. It originally had, 19% fire damage on it, but since I'm not running fire and I don't have a lot of lightning damage anyway, I re-rolled it to the 10% crit after much salt and vinegar from clan chat. So particular people that are salty are a couple people in guild. Thunderclaw is very salty. He said, I'm fired.
Shout out to Thunderclaw.
As soon as I found it, he has yet to go through with that. But yeah, there was definitely a lot of salt and vinegar when I found that a couple days ago.
Oh yeah, man, this is like the holy grail for a lot of monks. They're looking for this guy. The rest of the stats on here, in case you guys are curious, we have 942 dex, a perfect roll of critical hit damage at 100%, which is just a thing of beauty. And it always rolls with the socket too, so there's that, which is kind of nice. Throw a legendary gem in there, or whatever. And then the secondary as well of 203 poison resistance, so that's helping out the monks, of course. And some monster kills grant experience, which also helps you with that crazy leveraging the formula of experience in Greater Rift. So it's like the monk amulet, man.
And it rolled natural socket too, so I was not going to complain the slightest.
Yeah.
Thunderclaw says, I'm not salty, stop asking. I love it.
Good times.
And last but not least, not to be outdone, we have a PTR item for you. We were actually talking about some of the undocumented things that got added, and this is one of the rings, actually, that we did not talk about in our previous section, but I'm glad we didn't because we get a chance to now. This is an Arkstone, and it was submitted by, drumroll please, Power Axes. So thank you for sending this one in, bud. He wanted to highlight this just because it seems like a cool party/follower item, and the legendary power on here is that lightning pulses periodically between all wearers of this item, dealing the range is 1,000 to 1,500% weapon damage. We actually got this, Nineball, if you remember, on PTR.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Lunatic and I ended up equipping one each, and it was kind of underwhelming.
Yeah, because it seemed to only pulse like once every couple seconds. It's not like a real, like, it's not a lightning chain, quote unquote, like you would expect for the actual elite mobs themselves. It procs a lot less than for fire chains, and it only ticks for damage once.
Yeah, and it was hard to see like the damage from it. It didn't have like a super great graphic, and I actually saw some people posting in the forums and getting a blue response from Tivler saying like, what exactly about it don't you like, etc.
Yeah, you do have to stop and like actually pay attention to it to see what the graphic looks like. It's not big or flashy. It doesn't even really look like lightning. It's like a little wisp, connects the two players once every couple seconds, and it's like that was it. You know?
Blink and you miss it.
Yeah.
The question would be, is that affected by lightning damage on your gear?
I would hope so.
I would hope so, because if it's not, that's really low.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's not a lot of damage.
Yeah.
No, especially when you then average that out over the frequency of the proc.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So an interesting concept, but maybe not the best execution. So hopefully there's an iteration on that one, because I think it almost wasn't there a time when that was kind of supposed to be what Unity did. I think.
I'm pretty sure that when they made Unity, it wasn't intended to just be something you equip to your follower, but was something to pass around the group in order to average the damage out.
No, I remember it was supposed to be like fire chains between all of you or something like that. It was supposed to be like offensive in nature.
That I don't remember.
I don't either.
Okay, I don't know. I might be mixing up stories, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So that's the end of items of the week. We leave on a ponderous question of, will it get better? But yeah, you guys, what are your thoughts in terms of the PTR going forward? Will you hop back in? Are you going to play mostly season 2 going forward? And what do you look forward to? Let's start with Nightball.
I just I'm really looking forward to seeing the new set changes, because they're far from finished. So even though we have the PTR early, we're definitely still a couple months away from patch 2.2. I really want to see them make changes to these sets. We have them there. We have the base concept. Now they just have to get the numbers right in order to make them compete with the sets that we already have.
Right on. Andrew?
What Nineball said, basically, the new set, I'm really, really excited for the Barb Whirlwind set, because that's what I played vanilla. That was my bread and butter. So I'm very interested to see the changes that they're making to that set in the next patch. But in the meantime, I'm just going to be playing my live character, because not having that buff rate is not fun anymore. Because I want to test things. I don't want to play the regular game to maybe hopefully get the items in a couple weeks to maybe test them.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. My thought process at this point is, PTR, until the next patch comes in, I'll probably go in and just test quick changes. But for the most part, it's season 2, it's live, it's I'm going to be able to gain actual stuff and still compete on there. So we'll do that, and just get excited for stuff that's coming up, man. I feel like Diablo's in a good place right now. Just hope those sets, like you guys have been saying, hope those sets meet expectations. We have some work to do.
Apparently, I was hawking through John Yang's Twitter account, because his tweets are really good to read. Apparently, the new PTR patch is going to be this week sometime, maybe, according to him. Not confirmed, but that's what it says on his Twitter.
Well, there you go. Hopefully, by the next time we see you guys, we will be talking patch 2.2, patch 2. I don't even know how you would talk about that, but we will see. And with that, we reach the conclusion of our show, episode 41, all the items on PTR. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure. We're here every Wednesday night, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. Thank you, Andrew, so much for stopping by and being our special guest. We hope to have you back. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, do you have any last minute shout outs or anything else that you want to say on the show?
Just a shout to the subreddit in general. There's a lot of good people over there. We recently passed 120,000 subscribers last week.
Wow, congrats.
Shout out to the IRC. I mean, those guys keep me entertained during work, because even though the channel says Diablo, we talk about anything and everything there. And yeah, we're getting to that point that BlizzCon might maybe be announced, and that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, there's always useful information. It's our Diablo is just one of those my default home pages that I always go through and check whenever I have a couple spare minutes. I want to see what's going on. It's a great place to go and check information, and also it's just a jump board for everything else, because you got all the links to all the class subreddits. A place where you can find clans and such. So it's a very very powerful resource that you have available to you. If you haven't started taking advantage of it yet, you should definitely change.
Absolutely agree. Check out.
We recently just had somebody message us through mob mail saying, "Hey, I made this really cool utility that tells you how to reroll your items." I'm like, "Hey, sure." So it's in our sidebar now. You can find it.
Right on. So yeah, check out Reddit Diablo, check out Blizz Pro Diablo, check out all the Diablos. There's lots of good infos out there. You can follow each of us on Twitter. I'm SA Stewart 111. That's 9ball Gamer over on Twitter, and our special guest is Menagese, Menagese. You can follow the account official. Oh wow, the account. You can follow the show's official account, the WM Workshop. Send an email on over to Westmarch Workshop at blizzpro.com. And we hope to hear from you guys. We love you guys and have fun. Good luck. Be safe. Fight the PTR Q boss.
Yep. May RNGesus be kind to you.
There it is. 9ball, you get the last word.
Word.
You would. You would. Good night, friends.